We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Dungeon Crawlers, where we have returned from a place of awesomeness and excitement because we've got a great topic we're going to talk about. One where you might have a shield, one where you might have some fancy tech, another where you might swing from rooftop to rooftop on webs, others where it just might not make any sense because these characters we just don't understand. What we're talking about is Marvel Phase 4. Yeah, it sounds just as bad as it tastes in my mouth.
Daniel. The good news is that Daniel is able to conceal his opinion till the last possible second.
To the last second.
Anyways, how you build tension.
Yes, we're going to talk about Marvel Phase 4. Matthew is going to lead this discussion because he's got thoughts of where this discussion should go. So I'm going to hand it over to Matthew. But first, before we do that, we're going to talk about a few geek news items, and then we'll jump into the discussion.
It's geek news.
Yes. So I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna do mine first because I'm super excited about this. So for those of you out there that don't know what Pluto TV is free. It's a streaming service, but provides free TV, and it's like live. There is no like pausing. It just goes. It's like old school television.
Yes.
Where there are commercials and everything. My kids were watching it and they're like, "Can you pause it?" I'm like, "Nope." No, you can't.
You got to hold it. You got to time it, and you got to be fast.
Yeah, it does have its own commercials, but it's just like old school TV. You have channels and everything. But the cool thing is they just released a Transformers channel. It is Transformers cartoon 24/7. I have been watching so happily. It's like old school Gen 1. It's got Beastmasters. It's got the Transformers Armada and Cybertron. It's got the newer cartoons like Transformers Prime and the Bumblebee ones. Yeah, it's great.
Wow.
So it has a mixture of old school Transformers and the newer generation. So anyone
that is awesome.
It sounds like something that I would love to watch, except I'll bet you there's more than can meet my eyes.
Yes.
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
Yes.
It's not even the end of the show.
I know. However, this Pluto TV offers more than just Transformers. If you want to watch MacGyver 24/7, you can. You can watch Richard Dean Anderson MacGyver it up.
That was my question. I'm like, is it original MacGyver or is it MacGyver light?
Yeah, it's Richard Dean Anderson.
Good.
So Pluto TV is worth watching. I stumbled upon it and I watch it now even more intently because now I can get my daily fix of Transformers. But you cannot pause it.
You cannot. And somewhere out there, Alton doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, hey, there are Beastmasters, and he does care.
He
about
likes Beast Wars. He does like Beast Wars. That's true.
Or Beast Wars, not Beastmaster. That's a totally.
I knew what you meant. Awesome. I also have a couple pieces of geek news. Nothing, not too many pieces, but so PlayStation, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but I'm a PlayStation fan. I don't routinely hate on any of the other platforms. I just really love PlayStation. And PlayStation this month, the month of June, they released their new system for their PS Plus membership, which includes 3 different tiers of membership. The first tier is what we've been doing with PS Plus for years, where you get to play in multiplayer settings and you have cloud saves and you get a few free games every month. They have 2 other tiers. The extra tier, which allows you access to a catalog of a couple hundred titles, few hundred. It's either 200 or 300 titles. I think it's like 200 titles. And
PlayStation, you're so extra.
Right? Well, and Xbox is like, well, we did it first with Game Pass, and that is absolutely true. This is PlayStation's answer to Xbox's Game Pass, where you could download games simply because you were a member, not because you had purchased the game. And I decided that I was going to try the extra tier there is a premium tier which has all of the things that are in the extra tier. Plus, they have a catalog of classic games like from PSP, PS Vita, PS2, PS1, PS3. They have like a backlog of classic games that you can stream cloud-wise, or you could download them directly. Those features are safe for premium, but I went with extra just to try it out. And I got to tell you, I'm only a few days into it, but I've already found like 10 games that I want to try, that I want to play, that I have full access to, that I otherwise would not have purchased for some time, if ever. And I'm extremely excited about it. So that's really cool. The price difference, you guys can go look up the prices, but just to let you know, the price difference between the normal membership, which is $60, and extra is another $40. So it's $100 a year, but it's $100 a year where you get 3 free games a month, you get your cloud saves, all the basic stuff, and you get access to a couple hundred games that you might not own. So very cool stuff. I'm trying it out. I will tell you more what I think about it as time goes on. The next piece of geek news, and I can't tell if I'm excited by this or if it's like, well, it's about time. But Microsoft has announced that they are dropping all support for Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer is dead to Microsoft. It's been dead to everyone else for a long time, but it's dead to Microsoft. Anyway, that is geek news.
Alrighty.
Yay!
It is time for Marvel Phase 4. I'll hand it over to Matthew.
If I could do a decent impression of the theme song, just, imagine you're seeing the letters and comic book pages flipping. All right, so Marvel Phase 4. We're actually about halfway through this, and since Marvel has taken their TV shows and brought them back under the umbrella of MCU, we've actually got 2 different paths to follow here. We have the Phase 4 movie release calendar, as well as the TV series. Now, many of you, I'm sure, are aware that Marvel Studios did produce some TV series for when it was on Netflix. They also had stuff on Hulu and free. I think the Cloak and Dagger was on Freeform. And in those series, they allowed the MCU movies to affect the storyline, but nothing that happened in the TV series was accepted as canon in the movies. So it was kind of a one-way effect.
It's kind of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of went a little back and forth, but basically MCU, Kevin Feige got to pick and choose which events from the TV series were going to actually affect the movies. This is one of the reasons that people were so excited when Mr. Matt Murdock shows up in Spider-Man No Way Home, because it's kind of showing that, well, maybe some of the things that happen in these TV shows might actually have some relevance in the movies. And out of all the TV series, let's be honest, Daredevil probably was the best one.
It was phenomenal.
All right, so for those of you who are needing to follow the program, Phase 4 began technically with the Black Widow movie. And that was during COVID. It was released. It was postponed. It was simultaneously theaters and streaming. There was a whole bunch of stuff that made that difficult to get out there. And then the story left some people feeling a little flat, although the characters that they introduced, I think a lot of people really liked. Black Widow too, her younger sister. I mean, everybody thinks she's absolutely adorable.
Oh my gosh. I honestly, I really like Black Widow. And I think the reason for that is the sister. There is a lot of wonderful one-liners and a lot of things that was just perfect with her. Like, you're such a poser. Why do you always have to pose? And then there's the one scene where, they finally capture their father, and she has the whole, conversation where they just rip, make it so they can't have babies. And I later learned that was completely ad-libbed by the actress, and they kept it in, which is just amazing. But I think that's what really helped make that movie, is the weird, odd dynamic that family had. Otherwise, it didn't have a lot going for it.
Yeah, the Black Widow movie, I saw it once and I felt the same way. It fell flat for me. Not as flat as another one that's in this list coming
Oh,
up
yeah.
soon, but it fell flat. However, I will say the second time I watched it, because I was showing it to my kids, I realized that there were elements of it that I liked more than I thought I did, or
Yeah.
I appreciated it more the second time. And I absolutely agree that Florence Pugh and David Harbour carried that film. I mean, I love ScarJo. I love her to she is to Black Widow what RDJ is to Tony Stark, what Hugh Jackman is to Wolverine. She is Black Widow, and nobody else can be Black Widow. When they introduce Florence Pugh as Yelena, she has to be Yelena. She can't be Black Widow, right? Nobody else can.
So here's what I want to do, just so you guys are aware kind of where we're heading with this episode. I want to just do kind of real quick a few comments and takes on the movies that have come out so far. Then we're going to switch over. We're going to do the TV series that have come out so far. Then go back and do the movies that are coming up for the rest of the phase, and then the same thing with the TV series.
Sure.
So real quick, the next movie that came out after Black Widow was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of that, Mr. Krebs?
I loved it. I thought Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, that was an IP that I had zero familiarity with, but as it came into the light and as more of it was exposed, and then I got to see it in theaters, I thought it was excellently well executed as a film. As a film by itself, great movie, really enjoyed it. I think I might even like it better than I like Black Panther. In fact, I do. I do like it better than Black Panther.
Wow. Daniel.
Honestly, I think Shang-Chi was probably the strongest so far in the Phase 4. They did not try to whitewash it. It was an Asian film, and they did a great job with it. I like their take on the Mandarin and how that character came into play, as well as the Ten Rings, and how that kind of connected everything previously, especially down to the original Iron Man movie. I like how they brought Ben Kingsley's character back in.
Trevor.
Flattery.
I love it. Oscar-winning Ben Kingsley.
Yes, it was a good, solid kung fu movie too, which I really appreciated. Awkwafina did a fantastic, hilarious job playing the sidekick in that film.
I will never not see her as female Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I know. But it was strong. I think it was really well written. It was well executed. And when I saw that, I had hopes for Phase 4 because we weren't going to have Iron Man and Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much where my hope ended.
Oh, Matthew, take us forward so we can talk about this next thing.
Well, I want to give my take on Shang-Chi. I agree. I loved the movie. I actually loved the movie more than the original material. For me, this is one of those rare movies where the adaptation is better than the original material. Now, some of the Shang-Chi comic books, it was a blatant ripoff of Bruce Lee.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, and I'm talking about, I think it was Brian Michael Bendis involved in this, but it was the Avengers World story arc. At that point, Shang-Chi actually becomes a character instead of a stereotype.
Yes.
And he actually is very interesting, and he has a unique role to play in this grand epic story arc that they have. And I won't go into that here. There's plenty of videos out there on YouTube if you want to get a quick synopsis of Avengers World, but it helps to lead directly into the Secret Wars of the 21st century series. The one thing that I did not like about the movie was Awkwafina. I cannot stand her voice. Her humor just doesn't resonate with me. And every time that she would open her mouth or tell a joke, for me, the movie kind of just hit a sour note at that point. And then to get back to Shang-Chi and all the stuff that he does, because I think he's totally awesome. He's great.
The bus sequence in Shang-Chi is to Shang-Chi.
Oh my gosh.
What the Vader sequence is to Rogue One.
Oh, yes. The best. Okay. So then we come to this next.
Speed had been that way with Keanu Reeves.
If that had been
The Matrix in the city bus. Gotcha.
Oh man.
All right. So then the next movie that came out was Eternals. Eternals. Daniel, tell us about your love for Eternals.
Let's put it this way. It is the only Marvel movie I do not own. It had potential. They had a great cast. The film was not interesting. The story was not interesting. It was very contradicting. As a comic book fan myself, the main plot line made no sense. They're there to stop deviants, and someone says, "Well, why didn't you interfere and stop Thanos?" Well, we can't because we're only here to stop deviants. But Thanos has deviant blood. I mean,
Thanos is a deviant.
Yeah,
he's a deviant
and
throwback.
Yet, that's like that. Well, you screwed up there. I don't. Again, I feel like whoever did this movie didn't do their research. It wasn't well written, in my opinion. It was very confusing for audiences, and I think the scoring shows that.
Yeah. What about you, Krebs?
I felt very much the same way. For me, the film was a very surface experience, and I had no emotional ties to anything.
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything for any of them for a long enough period of time to care. There was a point in the film, especially, I think it was like an hour and 15, hour and a half into the film, I kind of just wanted to leave. I didn't care enough. And I finished the movie so that I could say that I had seen all of it. And of course they left a hook in there for a sequel. And I'm like, and my response was audibly out loud in the theater, please don't.
For me, I think this was a misstep for Marvel. This does not measure up to the greatness of a lot of the other movies. But Marvel Studios made some mistakes with this one. It could have been a good movie, but here's the problem. You have a number of characters that are not well known. None of these characters are Spider-Man.
That's right.
A lot of this comes from the Jack Kirby era of Marvel, which was very cosmic, and it was groundbreaking comic art. A lot of the comics we have today is because Jack Kirby did things like the Eternals. Mm-hmm. But even throughout the Marvel universe, the Eternals would pop in and would pop out. They never really had a long run of their own. They were supporting characters to somebody else's story. They were the Thanos that is a major, overpowered character that drives the normal everyday heroes' stories.
Yeah.
And it was, and that was cool and everything. And they were pretty interesting characters. All these different ways they would just, show up every now and then. It was always kind of a treat, an Easter egg. So you're taking these characters that people don't know, and they did this before with Guardians of the Galaxy, who had the same problem, but that one they succeeded at. This one, I think they did not take the lessons learned from Guardians of the Galaxy to do with this. Second, you have a very huge ensemble. I think there were like 10 different main characters.
Yeah.
And you didn't spend enough time with any of them to really make an attachment, to really understand. Right. You see Thena, Angelina Jolie's character, who is just an amazing fighter, because half the crew are fighters and half the crew are thinkers. That's the way this is divided up intentionally. She was one of the fighters, and she was awesome. It was incredible watching the action scenes that she was in. But when you come back to her after some time has passed, now all of a sudden she's lost her mind. And you don't know why. It's not explained very well, and then it's really unpredictable and not consistent when she's lucid and when she's not. And so there were too many characters to deal with all at the same time, and it was hard to keep everybody straight. Yeah. I did love the diversity. I loved that these were really kind of international people. And you have a deaf person who I loved that actress as well as the character that she played. And so really said, if we're going to go to something that's global across the earth, it's nice to have heroes that represent the population of the earth, So I thought that was some good things there, but those two big things, I think, and then I'll add a third one there, the story was weak. But I think that one might have been caused by the first two problems that movie had. From Eternals, let's go to Spider-Man No Way Home.
All right.
I just happened to watch this movie last night.
First
and-
time or not
time?
first time?
Oh no, this is not the first
Okay,
time.
Okay.
okay.
Rewatch of I don't know how many times. And it still holds up. I still liked it. This was one that had a really good story. It had great acting, of course, and then it had all these Easter eggs, had all these callbacks. And I don't want to call it fan service, but anybody who's a Spider-Man fan
That was
who's
fan
loved
service.
the movies before felt like they got something. This was a love letter to the fans, and it was great. A good story, great cameos. I just loved everything about this movie. Krebs.
I am with you on this. We actually did a review of this before you joined the show. We did a review of this, and the truth is, like, I think it is my favorite Spider-Man movie. If we're, and in many ways, it ties with Into the Spider-Verse for me personally. But it is one of the best Marvel films of all time, and I utterly adore it. It is absolutely fantastic. I have little, if any, gripes with it. Daniel?
No, it was a great film. And I think Sony really knows what they're doing with Spider-Man. And I think a lot of that has to do with Marvel's help. I think they did a good job previously. They did do some missteps, but I think with Marvel really stepping in to assist with them, they've been able to create a really great Spider-Man character. We have a Peter Parker we care about. He's goofy, he's zany. And in this one, I like how they incorporated the previous two movie runs and brought it together. Not only that, we got to see some redemption for some of those characters. I mean, that scene when Andrew Garfield jumps off and catches MJ.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And you see the tears in his eyes, and we all know why.
Yeah.
They hit the right points. We got the right feel goods. And this is where I feel like Phase 4 is not as solid, because we get a stinker, we get a good one. We get a stinker, we get a good one.
Inconsistent. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not getting one movie after another. Yes, in the beginning, Thor Dark World was not that great. It was kind of the stinker, but it kept building from there, and we got a great movie and a great movie and a great movie. And then we got this ultimate ending. I don't feel like we're getting that momentum, that build. I do feel like we are in the TV stuff. We're kind of getting there. Yeah. But even if the TV stuff, it's still, I feel like Phase 4 is just not there. And a lot of Phase 4 deals with grief and PTSD and a lot of this, how do we move on after this horrible thing that happened where half of the population disappeared and now they're back, and while I was gone, people died, or all this weirdness that happened because of the blip. And I appreciate that they're bringing that in, and it's causing this strife and calamity, but I feel like they're really digging into that, and it's just so overwhelming that we're not getting the quality out of the films we could. And maybe I'm wrong on that.
I have a slightly different take on a different opinion about the Sony and Spider-Man. I thought they did a really good job with Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man 2 wasn't received quite as well, but I still loved seeing Dr. Octopus. They did a great job there. Spider-Man 3, the studio stepped in hardcore and threw the entire kitchen sink at it, and they went off the rails. Even Sam Raimi said he wasn't really pleased with the way that turned out and refused to come back for more. So then they rebooted it just a few years later, and we got The Amazing Spider-Man, which, not throwing stones at Andrew Garfield, people did not like TASM.
I liked him better than Toby.
And the villain development was really bad at that. So then they wanted to reboot it again because after 2, the TASM franchise had really petered out. No pun intended. And that was the point that Marvel approached them, and Sony was unwilling to give them back the Spider-Man property, but they were willing to partner with them. And then we got Spider-Man in the MCU. And from that point, those have been, in my opinion, while the other ones were good, these Spider-Man movies where it was the partnership was superior because Marvel kept Sony from throwing too much junk in there and keep it true to the beloved source material.
Yeah.
Now, here's my concern. With this spell of forgetfulness that Doctor Strange casts in No Way Home, he says, it will be as if you never existed, which to me says Sony and Marvel have been arguing about the Spider-Man license every time there's a Spider-Man movie that comes out. What this means is if Sony wants to take their football and go home, they can, and MCU does not lose any of its consistency. Marvel is free to let it go. And I really think that Sony's going to try to make Spider-Man their own. And I do not think they are going to do as well without Marvel Studios to temper some of the crazier ideas that Sony inevitably is going to throw in here.
So there's actually already rumors of that going on, and that Venom exists in the Andrew Garfield universe. And because things have gone really well with this, this multiverse and them showing up, there's going to be some films coming out with Andrew Garfield coming back as Spider-Man, and we're going to see some Spider-Man Venom films because Sony.
They're probably going to throw Morbius in there too.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Sony continues to create films in the Spider-Man universe, because they're doing Craven, they get to keep hold of those rights.
Yeah.
And they would be stupid to let go of them. Let's be honest. Right now, they're riding the wave, and whether they're stinkers or not, it's still creating money for them. But if they can get the formula right and kind of mimic what they've seen with this partnership and bring in Andrew Garfield and bring in the success they've had with Venom, I think we could see some pretty strong and some amazing Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films while Tom Holland still exists in the MCU.
All right, Dungeon Crawlers, you heard it here first. Let's see how this stuff turns out and see whose prediction ends up being closer to the truth.
Yeah. All
right. In the interest of time, I think I'm going to skip the TV stuff, and we will do that in another episode. Let's just finish out this episode on the Phase 4 movies. The last one that has been released as of this recording is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. Give me your 60-second quick take on that, Daniel.
It was okay. It was fun. It was a fun movie to watch, but again, I had no investment. We had this big build-up through the TV stuff with the What If, saw these great characters, and then they were gone. It was kind of disappointing that how quickly those characters were gone. We had things that were shifting. We had so fast. I didn't feel like the writing was as superior as the last Doctor Strange film or even Spider-Man No Way Home. It just seemed like we were trying to go for over-the-top thrill factor. Sam Raimi, Army of Darkness meets Doctor Strange, which was fun. But again, I left the theater going, okay, that was kind of like Black Widow. That was okay. That was fun. All right,
Krebs.
I really enjoyed it. I hear definitely what Daniel is saying. I went in not knowing it was a Sam Raimi film, and there was a point in the film where I recognized immediately this is a Sam Raimi film, and I looked it up. And I was sure enough, he directed it. It does feel like Evil Dead meets Doctor Strange,
and his car's even in it. His car is even in the film.
His Bruce Campbell is in.
I know that car is in every film he does.
Yes, it's great.
The classic.
But the truth is, like it was super enjoyable. I thought it was enjoyable. And the What If series added value to this movie for me. So if you haven't seen the What If series, please watch that, and then watch in the Multiverse of Madness. But I also agree that if I look back on it honestly, and I ask, okay, how did this advance the story? And the honest truth is, it changed Doctor Strange a little bit. Kind of resolved the Doctor Strange and I forget her name at this moment, but his nurse girlfriend that he loves, Christine. It kind of resolves that part of his story arc and allows him to move forward. expands his powers, then he meets someone else that he needs.
That's his wife. That's his future wife.
That's his future wife. Okay, yeah. See, I didn't know that. But it was Charlize Theron, right?
Yes.
Clea.
Yeah, Clea. So introduces her, but like, did it do anything else for the MCU universe? Wanda goes nuts and then kind of like self-destructs, but is she really dead? I don't know. I don't think so. But like we kind of had, it's one of these story arcs that you could draw as a loop from where it started to where it ends. And because when the movie's over, it didn't really advance much of the pantheon. It didn't advance the universe.
Well,
but I did enjoy it. It was a good movie, but it didn't advance anything.
Well,
for me.
and that's the thing about the previous movies is, even though we had our own individual movie story arc, it still advanced the overall story arc. These films, I don't feel like are advancing anything, and that's where I kind of am like just like, ugh.
Matthew, what was your take on it?
As far as Doctor Strange movies go, I really enjoyed it as well. I enjoyed the story. Loved the actors that were in it. They introduced some new and interesting characters and spent some time on them so that we could, enjoy and understand them.
Yeah.
But I felt I was not quite as wowed by it as I was with the first Doctor Strange movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I still enjoyed it very much. And I have a little different take on it than Krebs. I think this does advance the story. One of the things that I loved seeing in this was Wanda from this villainous waif orphan to redeeming herself and becoming a hero, and then a falsely accused Avenger, and then back to a hero again, and then suffering this crushing defeat, and now she is a reality warping major threat, although not necessarily a villain. The importance of Wanda Maximoff coming into her potential and learning how to warp reality is the springboard for at least 3 major Marvel storylines that were all acclaimed by the fans, because I don't care so much about critics, but are just fantastic stories, and I would love to see any or all of them on the screen. So you have to get Wanda to this point to make those happen. And I loved the way they did it, because it didn't, for me at least, it did not seem contrived. There's a logical reason for her changes at each point.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as everything coming into this, America Chavez is going to play a bigger role. What If, I love the tie-ins. The multiverse is definitely going to be playing a bigger role through this phase, and I suspect into the next. And then you had that wonderful cameo of all these other heroes: Black Bolt, Professor X, Mordo with a little different take on it, Mr. Fantastic. I mean, I almost
Dr.
fanboy fainted right there. But we'll get to more Fantastic Four here in a minute. But anyway, I loved it. That was my favorite part of the movie, was seeing that part. All right. Now we're getting into the upcoming movies. The next one that's coming out here in another month is Thor: Love and Thunder. Taika Waititi is both the director and the screenwriter for this one, so you know it's going to be good. I'm sorry, that guy can do no wrong.
Right.
And the soundtrack, I love seeing what songs they're going to pull up for the trailers as well as what goes in the movie, because you got Led Zeppelin with the last Thor movie, which was just so perfect. And then with this one, you've got the Who, and I'm excited to see where this is going to go. I am a little concerned about social agendas, because when you push a social agenda, the story often suffers. I want to go see a good story. I want to go see superhero stories, and I don't want to have stuff thrown down, shoved down my throat. I want to just enjoy this. So that's one concern I have, but I'm looking forward to this movie.
I don't think we're going to see that. Now, so again, we kind of already said this, we had Thor, he's a god. The first film was, we enjoyed because it's putting him out there. But Thor was really serious and straight-laced. The second one didn't do well because that formula doesn't work. And I think when Taika stepped in on 3 and Ragnarok, took a little bit of what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, putting in the rock music, making Thor a little less serious and more funny, and not as confident in himself is where everyone started buying in on Thor and they started loving it. And I think we're going to see that. I mean, just from the trailer where, the Korg is like, Thor's gone from dad bod to god bod, and then, and you see Star-Lord talking about his family and stuff like that. And he's like, you just have to look at them. And then you see Thor leaning over and he's like, keep trying to stay in his line of vision. Like, no, not you. I think that humor's in there. And the reason for that is they realize that's the only way to make this character work is by, he's not perfect. Yes, he's a god per se, but he still makes mistakes. He's still going to have these weird quirks. Introducing Jane, the love of his life, but now she has his hammer and she's beefed up. And, none of that, we see her with Valkyrie and they're kind of like joking together. I think we're going to have some fun with this film.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this one. On the scale of like not interested to super excited, I am pretty close to super excited. I think Taika Waititi knows exactly how to tell these kinds of stories, and he does such a phenomenal job. So very much looking forward to this.
And again, we're on that wave. So the last one is kind of a dud. This has got to be the good one.
Well, and that brings us to the next one in the list.
Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Now, this one is going to face some challenges because everybody loved Black Panther when he showed up in
Winter Soldier
or Civil War when he first showed up.
It was Civil War.
It was Civil War. You're right.
It was Civil War.
And everybody loved Chad Boseman's take on it, and he did nail it. Chadwick Boseman, excuse me. And then when he got his own Black Panther movie, it felt natural. We want to see this. We want to see Wakanda, and everybody fell in love with it. We love the culture of Wakanda. We love all that they can do, the vibranium technology and everything. Hated seeing Wakanda being attacked by Thanos' army. And so this was great. But then we lose the guy who made this character iconic. Like you were saying with Wolverine and Iron Man, you lose the actor behind the mask, and the story is going to suffer. So I am interested to see. I definitely want to see this movie. I am interested to see how they recover. I give them full props. Don't recast the role because you can't do that. He was too perfect. You're going to have to take another character to don the costume and be the next Black Panther.
This movie is going to be hard because Chadwick did a fantastic job playing the King of Wakanda and becoming the Black Panther. Even though that's not a series that I was highly invested in, nor did I enjoy, I still think he did an amazing job as that character and really brought it to life. A lot like Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Hemsworth did. Now, I will admit, I kind of felt like the Black Panther movie was trying to push some social agendas, but not as heavy as some other movies I've seen.
Yeah.
So here we are. We lose him to cancer. Fantastic actor. I've seen several other movies.
Exceptional actor. Yeah, he's really good.
And it is hard to move forward, but Marvel has replaced characters before. We saw it with Rhodey. Yes, it wasn't a main character, but we did see it in Iron Man when they went from Terrence Howard to
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle. It is possible, and especially now that we have the multiverse, it's really easy to explain a difference. But how do you recover from a loss of someone like that? It's going to be interesting to see how they do it. But I do worry that it's just not going to have the same power.
Well, they've got Ryan Coogler behind the helm, and he did such a good job on the last one. I'm willing to extend him a great deal of trust and confidence on this.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic on this one. We've already heard some leaks about how they're going to handle the story. I think the real value for the audience in this film is how they pay homage and honor to Chadwick Boseman. And I bet you they will find some clever deep fake ways to inject him a little bit into the story, much like they, inevitably will with Stan Lee and such. I want this movie to be good. I want it to succeed. I also think the likely outcome is that it's not going to be the same powerhouse as the first Black Panther film, but I also don't think it's going to fall on its face. The only thing that would really bring this thing down is what you guys said before, and I absolutely agree with you. If they focus more on social agenda than they do on telling a good Marvel story,
Yeah.
if social agenda becomes the priority, this movie will fail.
Yeah. And I don't want to give the impression that social agendas are necessarily wrong. Star Trek made quite a career out of injecting social morality lessons into pretty much every episode. So it is possible to do this well.
Yes.
But when it's overkill, when it overtakes the story,
Yeah.
And you could even say that a lot of Stan Lee's stuff, I mean, he always opened up the issues or the episodes with, hello, true believers. There's nothing wrong with putting morals and virtues
No, of course
in
not.
the stories
No.
that you want to promote. But the story has to come first.
That's
and the
it.
moral has to be natural, organic. Because when it's
Yes.
not organic, the audience immediately picks up on that, and they know that you're preaching at them, and your story is no longer entertaining.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and that's where there was some struggle with the first Black Panther movie. It felt like sometimes that social agenda outbalanced the story, but they kind of teeter-tottered back and forth, which is why it was okay. And we've seen some TV shows and stuff like that in recent events where that social agenda has overwhelmed, the story.
All right, moving quickly, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Let's do this lightning round style. Let's make
Quick
it super
take.
fast. Okay, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. 100% believe this is going to be great.
Daniel.
It's got Paul Rudd. You can't go wrong. I mean, the chemistry between Paul Rudd and
Evangeline Lilly.
Evangeline Lilly
and Michael Douglas, just fantastic. I'm super excited to see where this goes. I mean, especially after everything that happened after the blip. Because they've got to talk about that, because the end of Ant-Man and Wasp is when the blip happened. So
Yep.
I would really like to see how Michael Douglas's character handles that, because,
Also,
Ant-Man,
thank you for bringing back Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah. Because at this point, if it wasn't for Ant-Man coming back, then he'd still be ashes.
I'm with you, Daniel. Paul Rudd is in this. Everybody loves Paul Rudd. I think he just is going to make any movie great. What's interesting about this one is that this is going to have a tie-in to Loki and the introduction of Kang, because Kang the Conqueror is going to be part of this story. I am so excited to see how this ties in. All right, next one coming out. This one, Black Panther is November. It'll be at the end of this year, 2022. Ant-Man is supposed to be currently scheduled February of 2023. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is May of 2023 right now. I'll tell you honestly, my take on this one is I'm beginning to worry about two things: that this franchise is starting to run out of gas, and two, there's been so much studio interference in this, and concern over continuing to use James Gunn, even though James Gunn does his job. He does a good job. I don't think you can do Guardians of the Galaxy without him.
No.
And the actors agreed. And they weren't. The reason he came back is primarily because they wouldn't work with anyone else. So I am. This is the one that I'm cautiously optimistic about, but I am beginning to worry that they're running out of gas in this one. Okay, next movie is The Marvels, scheduled for the end of July 2023. And this is, if we're going to have another stinker on this list, I'm afraid it's going to be The Marvels.
Well, now hold your prediction.
I love Captain Marvel is coming back. There is some cool stuff to do there, but we're also going to have Ms. Marvel. And I'm not sure what Monica Rambeau's character is. I'm assuming Photon. And I think there's also going to be some cosmic threats. This could tie into multiverse stuff, Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. But the fact that they are getting so much social pressure and so much hate in the media on Brie Larson, I think is having a negative impact on the movie and the story. And it's really a shame, because we're going to the movies to see a story. I don't care about what's happening on social media right now.
Yeah.
I just want to see the story, and I think it's getting in there and kind of tainting this. So I'm studio interference is rarely a good thing, and I think this movie's going to.
Well, and honestly, I think a lot of this also has to do with Brie Larson herself. She kind of created this kind of negativity towards this character with her own social media stuff and interview stuff. Honestly, my personal opinion is I'll probably skip it. I'll probably wait till it hits Red Box. I'm just not interested in it. And again, that's the sad thing about Phase 4 is there's just not a lot that's like exciting me. That's saying, "Hey, I want to get in and see this." When it came down to seeing Batman or Doctor Strange, I went to see Batman. Well, actually, no. Let me rewind that. There's some other film, but I went and saw the other film. A couple weeks ago, I was going to the movies with my daughter, and I'm like, "Hey, the choices for the movie is Doctor Strange or Top Gun." And she's like, "Let's go see Top Gun."
That was the right choice.
And this is from my daughter that loves horror movies. And I told her it was kind of a horror movie. She's like, "Yeah, I just don't want to see it. I've seen the trailer. It's not exciting." And I think we're petering out of gas because it's $7 a gallon and Marvel is just not delivering like they did. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we've lost our main characters. And I get it. These guys have been in there for 10 years. They want to move on to other things.
The Marvels, I am also, I'm hopefully pessimistic. I don't know if that can say that, but based solely on the title and the characters that they're putting in there, I've already said how Captain Marvel, the way that they've portrayed her in the film, she invalidates the value of all other characters, because the moment she shows up, everybody else is unnecessary. And I'm concerned about what story they will tell with her as a central character. This is also being directed by Nia DaCosta, and looking at her repertoire of films, this is a film that could either be beautifully poetic and be an excellent, gorgeous piece, or this film could easily suffer from what we were talking about earlier, where it's going to be virtue signaling and stamp collecting, and social agenda will take favor over story and substance.
Well, and I'm just reading an article here. So Samuel L. Jackson was on Jimmy Kimmel Live recently. And this article just posted today. He said that they're going back to reshoot some stuff.
Which means the original plan didn't work.
We're going to have 4 super-powered heroes now, that are almost godlike probably. And what are we going to do with 4 people? I mean, we did a film with 10 and we didn't do that very well. I don't know.
Right. But there's one more on this list and we got to hit it, and we're like over time.
This is the one I've been waiting for the entire time. Fantastic Four.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to save my opinion for last. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Chris.
Okay, this is the cursed IP for Marvel, right? This is the IP that they have. There have been, what is it now? 3 attempts. There was one that never made it to see the light of day. There was the 2 films with Ioan Gruffudd and Jessica Alba and Chris Evans before Chris Evans was Captain America. And Michael Chiklis, let's not forget him. And then there was the reboot a handful of years ago with that we mentioned earlier with Michael B. Jordan and Miles Teller, which, by the way, I still have never seen that, and I want to see it just for my own edification, but I understand it's bad.
Only on crappy movie night, and if you can get the riff tracks for it, it's preferable.
That makes me sad, because I do love Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan. But
and I'm just going to say right now, because I can't let that comment stand, the first one that didn't see the light of day was a Roger Corman film. We do not include Roger Corman films.
Don't count Roger Corman.
No.
But we will always celebrate Doug Jones as the Silver Surfer, who deserved his own film. Anyway.
Amen.
But Fantastic Four with John Krasinski as Reed as our seed for what the film could be, I am, again, cautiously optimistic. This one might break the curse.
Well, so here's the problem. We don't know who's in the cast.
Not yet.
Other than him.
And there is no release date announced for
this one
as of yet.
There's tons of rumors. And I'll be honest, it's just not that great of a series. These are characters that I've never enjoyed because, like, Reed Richards just, like, really? Your superpowers is you can stretch. Like,
I mean, that's still more of a superpower than being rich.
You can turn into a spring and bounce around. I don't know. Being rich and creating, becoming Batman is awesome. I mean,
look, all I'm saying is like one of the first characters I beat Street Fighter 2 with was Dhalsim. Okay, so I'm just saying it's possible.
All right. Well, to paraphrase Adam Savage, I reject your opinion and substitute my own.
That was not his quote. I mean, he says it, but it's from a film.
Fantastic Four sucks.
Okay. I am so looking forward to this movie because the third Fantastic Four movie, Fan Four Stick, that sucked. It was such a disappointment. I have nothing good to say about that movie.
Why is it called Fan Four Stick?
Yeah, because of the movie poster. Look it up. You'll see.
Oh,
why.
Okay.
The first two that had some continuity between them was actually a modest pre-MCU attempt at a good superhero movie. They screwed up Doctor Doom. They really did. But everything else they did pretty well.
Yeah,
not to Marvel Studios.
Their Doctor Doom was a lot better than that last one, though.
Yeah, not to the Marvel Studios standard, but they did a pretty decent job, and I give them some props for that. But now that it's back home with Marvel Studios, and they're going to make this movie, I would put my money down. I would bet on them. They're going to break the curse, and we're going to see what a Fantastic Four movie should have looked like this whole time. Now, I do like the Fantastic Four as a comic book series, the first family of Marvel, the different things that they can do. I've always really kind of enjoyed them and how that dynamic works. And I'm excited to see where this is going to go. Now, John Krasinski, his take on it from Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, I loved the special effects they used to show his powers. I thought those were effective. And his beard and the gray reflects Reed Richards in the more recent Fantastic Four storylines, not the original ones. And I am so excited about this because he has a key role in the latest Secret Wars, which I would love to see on the screen. There is so much good stuff there. But the key to a good Secret Wars story is nailing Doctor Doom. If you can't do Doctor Doom right, Secret Wars Battle World is not going to work.
Yeah, and that's really where this all hinges on, is Doctor Doom. Without Fantastic Four, we can't get that villain. And he is a fantastic villain, but only if he's done right. The worry I have is up till now, we've had the man, Stan Lee, that's kind of helped direct where these films should go a little bit, besides having these fantastic directors. Now we don't have that. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see where it goes, but hopefully, like you said, they will deliver because they've been able to. But my fear is, so far, Phase 4 hasn't been that great. So my fear is it's not going to do as well as what we saw originally.
I think that they need to cast Emily Blunt as Sue Storm. With A Quiet Place, they've shown that the two of them have fantastic chemistry together. Having a real life husband and wife, I thought would be a good, I don't want to say gimmick, but it's a good feature of the film. So I think they would do great there. But yeah, I think that there's some good potential here. Krebs.
I nominate Chris Evans as Johnny Storm.
There's got to be some callback into that someplace in there. All right, so that is the wrap up for Phase 4. Daniel, you say that Phase 4 is just full of crappy movies, but there's been a number of them in here that even you said that you really liked. I completely agree that there's been some inconsistencies, there's been some highs, there's been some lows, but we love Shang-Chi, Spider-Man. We're looking forward to Love and Thunder, even Ant-Man. So there's a few on this list that I think that even you are going to really be happy that you saw.
Well, I hope so. I do hope so. The biggest issue just really is the fact that so far I haven't continued to be wowed. Every film going in, oh man, I can't wait till the next one. I can't wait till the next one. Right now it's just like, okay, that was okay. Or wow, that was really good. All right, what's the next one? Oh, well, that was kind of okay. I want to get into that magic moment, or that flow. That's what I'm looking for, that flow, where it just seems like, man, they're just ticking one movie off to the next, and we're building up to that we're building that crescendo up to that magic moment where we have the secret war, the big escalating moment. But so far, we're just not getting that. And it's kind of disappointing.
So that's what we've got with Phase 4 of the movies. In a future episode, we'll tackle the Phase 4 TV series.
Which is where I really feel like they are succeeding. But anyways.
So we'll have a different Daniel character at our next episode.
Yes. We will have Daniel 3.0.785219. Yeah.
The part of Daniel will be played by a happy human.
Yes.
We've got Grumpy Daniel today. We'll have Happy Daniel next time. And when flu season hits, we'll have Sneezy Daniel.
No.
But just wait till we get to the episode with Dopey Daniel. Now that'll be fun.
You just have Daniel from Universe 817 this week, and it'll be 712 next week, and maybe it'll be 128 the week after that.
619.
Yes, the joys of multiverse. I wonder if I have blue hair in one of those, because apparently in one universe we're all paint. So, with that said, folks, give us your thoughts and opinion on the movies. You probably, if you disagree with me, that is totally fine. That is what we're about. We're not all about agreeing. Some people love these films. Some people don't. Go out, check out these films, enjoy them as you will. And with that said, we'll catch you next time, and always choose the high ground.
Hey, Daniel.
What?
Did you hear that my brother got his toe amputated?
Really?
Yeah, but they were able to fashion a prosthetic, and they used sustainable materials. This time they used a breath mint. So now Krebs has a tic-tac-toe.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
I hate to say this, but you lost me like halfway through that. It was so boring.
And whether you tell hilarious dad jokes or it lands like a Phase 4 flop, always remember to be epic and don't suck.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.